Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Cathy Orlando. I'm calling in from Dubai, and this is a call called a global gathering for Citizens Climate International and Citizens Climate Lobby Canada. I hope you can hear me okay and don't hear the background noise. This call is going to be very focused on two things, on planning together as a global community on unwinding our economies from fossil fuels, and then also on the polluters pay principle. But before I start, I have two questions for the high school students in the class that are here today. And Mr. Weaver, do you think that they would be able to answer a couple questions? Do you think they're up for it? Or maybe Sophia can answer it?
Yeah, sure. We could do that.
Okay, that's fantastic. So if they want to come to the screen and turn on the screen or do it audio wise, that's fine. Okay, so, yep. Okay,
We
so,
might just do it audio wise.
okay, audio wise is fantastic. So to the high school students in the room, what is the number one source of greenhouse gas pollution on the planet? What's the biggest one?
Anyone like to answer that? Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah. Fossil. The answer I'm getting from my class is fossil fuels. I don't know if you could hear them at the back.
Well, I hope they can see people clapping because that was really wonderful. Yes, so over 85% of greenhouse gas pollution comes from burning fossil fuels. Excellent. So 2 weeks ago, I went into this classroom and they played with Climate Interactive's En-ROADS Policy Simulator. And they took it over. They learned it faster than any other adult I've ever seen do this. And they played with it and they learned some pretty valuable things. Do any of you remember what was the one of the most biggest levers or policies for reducing greenhouse gas emissions when you plugged it into that program?
They're saying carbon tax.
Yeah, and I didn't feed that to them. They figured that out themselves. That was not me, okay? They uncovered that themselves. So okay, so that is the focus of today's presentation is unwinding our economy from fossil fuels via global treaty, and Lucas will be talking about that. And then we'll be talking about making polluters pay. So I'm going to hand it over to Lucas and then to Sanj and then to Kohei and maybe Stefan if he shows up on the call. And then I have Alba here in the room with me as well. She can speak to that. And then we will take questions from you. So here we go. Thanks for that. Please take it over, Lucas, from Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty, and introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cathy. And hi, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Lucas. I'm very happy to be speaking to you from Amsterdam in the Netherlands today. But it's also great to see so many Canadians in the room. I've had the privilege of living in Montreal. And so also great news about Quebec taking more of a leadership role in BOGA. I'm the new Cities and National Campaign Coordinator for the very fast-growing Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty Initiative, and I'll talk a little bit about that today. This is my second week on the job, so do bear with me at the end if you have some questions that I'm not yet able to answer, but I'm delighted to be here. Representing this global effort to foster international cooperation to accelerate a transition to clean energy for everyone and the expansion of coal, oil, and gas, and equitably phase out existing production in keeping what science knows and what we know is needed to address the climate crisis. So this initiative builds on decades of calls and campaigns for a fossil fuel phase out and a fair energy transition by government, civil society, indigenous, grassroots, and other leaders, particularly from the global south. And it aims to complement other movements and tactics, such as divestment, debt relief, and fossil fuel bans, as well as the great work being done and advanced by the Beyond Oil and Gas Alliance that we were just talking about, as well as the Power Pass Coal Alliance. And so while the Paris Agreement set a crucial global climate target, many governments, including many self-proclaimed climate leaders, have continued to approve new coal, oil, and gas projects, even though the burning of the world's current fossil fuel reserves would result in 7 times more emissions than what is compatible with keeping warming below 1.5 degrees. And this new fossil fuel development is underway at pace, with planned production alone being 110% higher than what would be consistent with limiting warming to 1.5 degrees. And so in order to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement, we need international cooperation to explicitly stop the expansion of fossil fuels and manage a global just transition away from coal, oil, and gas in a manner that is both fast and fair so that no worker, community, or country is left behind. It's been an incredibly busy period for us. We have about 20 people at COP. Everyone is really busy right now, but we've had some major announcements recently from the milestone of 100 cities around the world endorsing our call for a treaty. And so this counts cities like Toronto, Montreal, but also Barcelona, Sydney, Paris, Amsterdam. And we also had the official endorsement of Colombia, joining a block of 10 other nation states supporting our proposal. And this took place on the 2nd of December during a high-level party event that included statements from the president of Timor-Leste, the prime minister of Tuvalu, the prime minister of Antigua and Barbuda, as well as the WHO director general and the executive director of the United Nations Environment Program. And I'll share a link in the chat to this session, but I wanted to read a quote from the president of Colombia that I think, Gustavo Petro, that I think really beautifully captures the need for a treaty. He said on December 2nd, there is a very powerful economic power around oil, coal, and gas, and they act to prevent changes to maintain in a suicidal way their possibilities for more years of profit in the short term. Today, we face an immense confrontation between fossil capital and human life, and we must choose a side. Any human being knows that we must choose life. I have no doubt which position to take. Between fossil capital and life, we choose the side of life. And so I think everyone on this call can agree to this, but I thought that it was a very good summary of the challenges that we are facing. And I want to say as kind of a closure that our campaign and its successes and its future successes, which are absolutely necessary to move this forward, couldn't be possible without the work of our partners and our network of over 2,300 civil society organizations, but also Nobel laureates, academics, local governments, and also youth that are really helping us call for a treaty and are supporting a very multi-pronged approach to our campaign. Really, every stakeholder that wants to join this fight counts as momentum for a treaty grows. To take just the example of cities, cities are ahead of the curve on climate action, and really the ones that are most nimble to implement climate solutions that are beneficial to residents and to community. And they can build collective pressure from below for a fossil fuel phase out and a just energy transition, and also grow the public profile for the campaign. And it's really important that we think about this. It's taken almost 30 years for climate negotiations to name the biggest cause of climate change, as we've just asked, and what our youth know, which is fossil fuels. And it's still a huge challenge to get global consensus on phase out language at COP. So we need novel approaches to help countries phase out fossil fuels now. Like I said, momentum is building towards a new mechanism to complement the Paris Agreement, to build intergovernmental cooperation and future-proof our policies. And what we think is that governments must negotiate a fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty that manages the fossil fuel phase out so that it's fast, fair, and financed. So I'll stop there and end on a call to action that, if you want to reach out to me, get involved, know more, please do. I'll also share my email in the chat, whether it is asking your city to endorse, whether it is getting a business to endorse, or really just lobbying for more visibility around this treaty. Thanks again for the invitation, and looking forward to the other interventions and to the question session.
Thank you very much, Lucas. That was excellent. Sanjiv, are you able to talk right now and continue the discussions?
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to start off without my video just for a second. I will lead up to something, but basically I was going to talk about two things. We are very pleased here for the Canadians that our Canadian government did announce, and for the students it's important to know this, that they released a framework to finally cap emissions from the oil and gas sector. You should be reading that in the newspapers and all the news media sites, I'm sure. And we're proposing to cap the 2030 emissions to 35 to 38% below 2019 levels. Was part of our goal to eventually, by 2050, hit net zero. I think what's really important for students especially to understand is that we are the first major oil company oil producing country to take on this project and this framework of reducing our emissions. The other good thing about it, as you guys have already seen, and I'm going to show you my video now, my cap on emissions. It's supposed to be there, cap on emissions. So we also found out that we're going to be able to continue with carbon pricing, and the methane regulations will also continue. So with this three-pronged attack, we're hoping that we can finally start making significant reductions in our emissions. So all the students probably already know that Canada is a major oil producing nation. It represents over a quarter of our emissions. This reduction will make a dramatic ability for us to finally reach our targets. We currently put out, if you want some numbers, around 189 megatons of CO2 just from the oil and gas sector, and they're going to try to get that down to 110. So that 79 is a huge drop. You should also know that out of all the G7 nations, since 1990, Canada is the only one that's gone up in emissions. So when governments don't do anything, as we had in the 90s, there are consequences. You guys are going to be voting soon, and remember that. So for all those students out there who want to be lawyers, there's going to be a need for legal beagles to work out all of these emissions and trades and cap and trades. If a company, for example, can't reduce their emissions as much as they want to, there's going to be a set amount of coins or credit out there. They can buy it from another company. There still will be an overall reduction, but you can see how that would spark innovation. If a company then learns how to reduce their emissions faster than they lose coins, they can make a profit. So one of the advantages of this is that it should spark some innovation in the industry, which of course they don't want to advertise. Cathy, you wanted to intervene before? Oh, sorry. My last point, of course, was as a physician. I think all the kids who are interested in medicine, I know some of Sophia's friends are included. You should know that it's continued to be a message from the World Health Organizations and any valuable medical society that climate change is the greatest threat to the human health in the 21st century. We saw that with the fires in Canada and the respiratory diseases, etc. In Ontario, a bunch of doctors got together, including myself, and we formed a toolkit that we wanted to give to all hospitals and spread out that helps hospitals reduce the carbon footprint, because healthcare can be up to about 5% of the carbon footprint of a hospital. So that's one of the things I've been working on, with some success within Canada, not so much success with the World Health Organization yet. And also the CAPE, or Canadian Association for Physicians or Environment, has put out a really cool toolkit. They, like anybody who likes environment, are sick and tired of the greenwashing and the stuff you see in the commercials. So this toolkit is going to specifically attack greenwashing with ads and that kind of stuff. And it's going to be in physicians' offices and waiting rooms for people to realize that there's a lot of greenwashing out there. And you probably already heard some today from some ministers who are already upset about the cap in emissions. Anyways, that's my report, and I'm happy to answer any other questions later on or now.
Love your hat, honey. And just so just so you know, that many of the students on this call signed for the government to put a cap on emissions. So your signature that you gave in September had an impact, and it was read in the House of Commons. Okay, Kohei, my colleague Kohei from Japan will give us a little bit of a perspective from Japan on what he is hoping for here at COP. Are you on the call, Kohei?
Yes, I am. If you can hear me well.
Yes, I
Okay.
can. Yes,
So
please, go ahead.
I came to the, I think, same building of you, but just I cannot find you. So I'm just, yeah. I think this is building 4 and then some restaurant and bars here, but maybe it's a different one. Yeah. But anyways, so I just arrived yesterday, and then I just joined to the second week of the COP today, the first day, and I came with my colleague from Japan, another colleague of CCL, and not about the topics you guys were talking, but just I tried to wrap up the last week, and then this week when what we are trying to communicate with our government and also media, mass medias, mainly about the, our region, like including Southeast Asia, not only for Japan, but just we are one of the country kind of having challenges to phase out our coal power plant because we are struggling to, of course, it's kind of like controversial nuclear power plant and not much renewable energy yet. So that's a thing, and also connecting to our region for Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. We are not sure if we include our region to balance our carbon emission to decreasing to zero or not. So that's the first day discussion. Just only a very short time is governmental like ambassador or negotiators, and also communicating with our media people. Then that's about a different context from the like North America or other region, but just I just report here. And then if you have any question, I can answer later. I stop here.
Thank you so much, Kohei. You have such challenges in Japan with, nuclear, and that you're not a fossil fuel producing nation. And yeah, it's a complex road ahead. So thank you for your work on getting this. I have another colleague here in the room with me. I don't know if I did. Sorry, I didn't know there was two workrooms in the building 4. So I have Alba. She's a youth from Mexico, and she's going to take over, and then we will take questions from you all. Thank you so much, Kohei.
Everyone, this is Alba. I'm from Mexico. I'm the chapter lead for Citizens Climate Mexico. And it's nice meeting you all. I've been working hard here at COP. I've been getting involved with Jungo. If you guys don't know what Jungo is, you really should Google it and get involved, particularly with ELCOIs. ELCOIs are local conferences of youth that you guys can organize in your communities and get together with other young people to talk about climate change in your communities and create a statement as youth from that community that you can use to demand from your local authorities that they take climate action. I've organized one myself this year in my home state of Sinaloa in Mexico. And we were able to turn in our statement to our local Congress. And we're working on doing another one next year, continuing on that work. And I've also been meeting politicians here, talking to them about climate change, what we need to do in Mexico, particularly climate income, showing them tools like En-ROADS that show how we really need to act fast, and we really need to act very strongly, do strong actions to really prevent the climate chaos that I don't want to sound too negative, but yeah, we are facing really bad events, climate events right now, and a lot of us have been maybe already are facing these challenges. So we need to act fast, and it starts with us as citizens urging our politicians to be more ambitious and take action right now.
Wonderful. Hey, thank you for that, Alba. And the youth are just give me so much hope, and the work that all of you are doing. So at this point, we have about 9 minutes left if there's any questions from the audience. So do any of you have any questions of us?
Cathy?
Yes?
Catherine, yeah.
I think I thought it started at 3:15, so I must have missed quite a bit. Did you talk earlier about COP28 or what you feel about what's happened so far?
Well, I could add a little bit about what I feel. It never happens fast enough. The path is unfolding before us, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Okay, that's probably the key message, and it won't get done without people like you. Just keep the conversation going, keep the feet of our politicians to the fire. But there's been a lot of advancements here. I could list them, but I don't want to. But things are advancing. It feels like things are changing. Yeah.
That's the feeling that I'm getting from reading about it.
Wonderful. Yeah, we'd love to hear some reports from back home as well. Yeah, it feels like things are changing. It's never fast enough, but it will be. Remember, the hopeful comment from COP26 was the transformation of the economy will not be linear. So it's going to be slow and then it will be fast. So it just feels like things are happening. Jan.
Just a quick question about the GHG simulator that you mentioned earlier. Can you give us more information about that? Like where it is, whether we could rent it?
If Mary Blake could put it in the chat, that would be great. And one of the projects that we'll be doing this year internationally in the new year is talking a lot more about the On-Roads policy simulator for helping you educate your fellow people around you, as well as politicians, because we find that politicians like that as well. They like working with it. It's a great question. So, yep, it's Climate Interactive, and thanks, Mary Blake. She's got it in the chat. Mark, you have a question.
Thanks. Yeah, just any kind of thought at all about the Canadian federal or subnational presence? How prominent is the Alberta delegation, the Saskatchewan delegation? Are there other provincial delegations there? Did CCL have any role in Alberta being named fossil? What was it? Fossil of the year?
No.
Just a general thoughts on the Canadian presence, and if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, Saskatchewan and Alberta. Yeah, Saskatchewan and Alberta are here. So some things, Climate Action Network Canada made it so that fossil fuel companies could not present in the Canadian pavilion this year. So Saskatchewan had to make their own pavilion, and it's in the green zone. It's not even in the blue zone. Alberta's here. There was a very special push this year to have subnational governments made fossil of the day. So the Climate Action Network picks a fossil of the day award every day, and it's for the country or subnational government that tries the hardest to do the least, sort of thing. It's we sent a whole bunch of people to the room to vote for Alberta to be fossil of the day the other day. So it was not just the climate; it was Climate Action Network did that. So yeah, it was a good moment. And maybe one more thing I'd like to share. There are oil and gas people here, and I deliberately went out for coffee with one for an hour and a half because he wanted to go out for coffee with me, and had a really lovely discussion. And I can't say who it is. I will use Chatham House rules. But he's a bit frustrated by a current mantra in Canada right now, technology, not taxes. Because the carbon capture and sequestration in Canada is not viable economically without a carbon price of at least $150 a ton. So it's really like muddying the capacity of even the oil and gas industry to get the proper messaging out there. Yeah, so so that was one moment here. There are oil and gas people here. They and it was good. It was good to talk. I mean, and it's kind of interesting too that it's a fossil fuel nation here that we're at as well. It's really making you pull your judgment away and just try to listen really deeply. It's good. It's good. Any other questions? To the students and in the just know that we are going to be pushing for the fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty. We've been told by our mayor to just hold it off because he had a whole bunch of work to do. But I think 2024 will be the year. So please pay attention to it. And other people here on the call, whether you're international or Canadian, definitely do lean into the fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty. It's an excellent starting point for getting those discussions going within your community about, you know, how the fossil fuels are the issue here. Yes, Kathy, you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering what your interpretation was or your thoughts were on the statement made by the president of the COP this year when he was speaking to Mary Robinson. The what did he say? You know, the controversial statement that he made that there's no science behind the 1.5.
Well, I would like to pass that one to my husband because he actually went and didn't because he refused to listen to sound bites. He actually listened to watched the whole transcript. So Sanj, do you want to take a moment to speak to that?
Well, yeah, and I think if you go to We Don't Have Time, they were the first ones who published the entire transcript, to be fair.
Yeah,
I think that.
Sorry to interrupt, Sanj, but I read it too, and I still wasn't quite sure what he was talking about.
I think the good things, and somebody asked about how do you feel, but it's first that when we have a Canadian, our emissions is a big move forward as a country. That makes me feel better. But also, I think what you should recognize, he did say, and he's been quoted since as saying, and I think this is really important, that he has said time and time again, he recognized we need a total phase out of fossil fuel burning, and that it will eventually be over, down to zero. So he has actually said that. The problem is, with his job position, it just looks bad. It depends who you talk to. Al Gore said it's the elephant in the room, it's a farce. But then there've been other people who come forth and said, this guy, like John Kerry, is actually very motivated. He gets a lot of work done, and he has said he is committed to doing it over the long term. And I think English is not his strongest language, and that he got a bit misquoted there. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying that I think when you read the whole transcript, I still think he has said on many other occasions, and you can easily Google it, that he does believe it has to be eventually phased out and it'll have to eventually stop.
I thought maybe his resistance was that he wants to be the one that provides the oil to the rest of the world, that, you know, the amount that we have left. I think he wants to provide it all. That's what my interpretation was. He wants to provide it all, but he knows there's a limit.
Yeah, I mean, and although I haven't, I have no proof of that. He's a bright gentleman.
No, I don't either. I'm just
bright businessman, and I could see him saying that we can get this out of the ground for $12 a gallon and not poison the rivers in Athabasca. But that's another topic.
Yeah.
Okay, we should be winding up. We started 2 minutes late, so we will end in about a minute. I was just wondering if the youth had any questions before we say goodbye, or any comments? Colin or Sophia?
The students in my class didn't have any questions right now, so they're just taking it in, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, and congratulations on taking it in. So Lucas, thank you for being here. Kohei, wherever you are in building 4, I'm going to go find you after this. Thank you for being here. Alba, blessings to you. As everybody here on the call, to my husband, thanks for being here. Lucas, this was great. All of you have a great day in your part of the world, and it's winding up here at COP. So thank you, everyone. Blessings to you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.